Are you ready to get intimate? What is intimacy? And where and how do you find it? Welcome to the Getting Intimate podcast, a daring journey into the heart of intimacy with you, your senses, the whole world, and all the creatures in it. Intimacy can be a pretty wild ride, filled with both longing and apprehension. But what if the vulnerability of intimacy isn't something to be avoided, but celebrated? What if getting intimate is the key to finally coming alive? Discover more with guests from all walks of life and your host, Katarina. Welcome. So welcome to another episode of this new podcast, Getting Intimate. And today we're exploring how to get intimate with plants and everything green, alive, and growing. And as our guide, I've invited plant whisperer Monica Gilliam, who is the founder of a modality called Talk to the Plants. So welcome, Monica.
Hello, Kat. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited about where we're going to go in this conversation today.
So what is it with you and plants? How did you become friends or acquainted or intimate?
Yeah. Well, a long time ago, maybe about 25 years ago, I had a lovely friend who introduced me to the idea of the consciousness of the earth, the consciousness of the plants. And that seemed really exciting, like a fairy tale. Like I'd always wished for that, but I wasn't sure that was real, And so then once she told me about that, then I worked for her. And actually not that long after, she said, okay, now go out and cut all of these plants back. And I was like, what? They're conscious. Wait, what does it hurt? I don't know what it's like to be cut. So I went out and I just said, hello, everything. It's Monica. And I have to cut some stuff back. Can you all please just show me if there's anything that I should cut or I shouldn't cut, and I will just listen. And then I just started going for it. And every once in a while, my body would just stop. My hands would just stop. And I was like, okay. And so then I would investigate. And, time after time, I was about to cut through something that I shouldn't have. Like another little tree that was hidden in the ivy, or even the watering system, And so that for me was just so exciting to actually go out and say hello to the world, say hello to the garden, and have it talk back to me, It blew my mind. And then that started years of just this asking billions of questions of everything that I would come across.
What is one of the latest plant conversations you've had?
Well, okay. Actually, one thing that I was thinking about just a couple days ago, and then when I remembered we were going to be doing this on Getting Intimate, I was like, this is perfect. So a lot of the time when I go into people's homes, they'll say, talk to my plants, or, it's almost like a party trick or something. But the amazing thing is that plants don't do separation. Like if you think about a forest, it's not like this tree is like, it's all about me. And, I'm not going to pay attention to those bugs, or, it's like everything is received, everything that is a part of the ecosystem is being with each other, and plants will actually take care of each other. I mean, if the whole forest is healthy, that is a contribution to every part of the forest, so in one way, from like a very people-centered focus, you could think it behooves the plants to take care of each other. And that's just their nature. Plants are all about oneness and not judging anything and trying to like determine the good and the bad of everything. So your plants in your home, actually, there's a way that you are a part of their ecosystem, and they will be nurturing you. And so when I go into somebody's house and they say, like, talk to my plants, a lot of the time their plants tell me about the people. So I have had some amazing experiences of, it's almost like your plants just told me all of your secrets, like, oh, you've been really sad recently? Oh. My cat just came in, so we might hear some cat talk
She's
here.
part of the ecosystem as well. Yes.
Exactly. But it's so amazing. So like sometimes when your plants aren't doing very well, sometimes it's that they are trying to take care of you and you won't perceive it.
Right. And they tell you about it. It's kind of like you become the translator for the plant message to the person.
Yeah.
Well, lately I've been really fascinated about or with how different frequencies affect and contribute to us. So, for example, the fact that the frequency of bird song literally awakens the plants, or that if you play music for plants, they grow more. And I've even seen these studies where you can hear, like, every plant has a frequency, and you can kind of hear that frequency if you use a specific kind of like technical translator that increases our hearing range. And I was wondering how you see, or if you could talk a little bit about how you see these, like the frequencies and vibrations of plants interact with our bodies.
Totally. Oh, I love that you've asked that, because I actually think about that all the time. Part of it is, so I talk about like the song of the earth, that there is like the frequency or the tone or the energetic structure even that each plant is being. And so like if you think about medicines, plants will be an energy that can contribute to your body. And we sometimes think that, you need to like eat the plant to receive that energy, or, but then there are amazing things like homeopathy, where, it's this distillation of like the energetic essence of the plant that's like so microscopic that it doesn't make sense if you think about it from like a chemical point of view. Like, I need the chemicals of that plant in order to create this change. It's more the energetic resonance of that plant that is what I like to say kind of like sings your body into a different song. And I've noticed that I had this experience a while ago where I was at somebody's house, a friend who I love to go and garden in her yard with her. I call it the park. So I go to the park and garden with her. And there were some plants in her yard that, some flowers that I just noticed. And it was like, hi, and they had a little bit of an energy to them, a sound to them. For me, I have the sense that it's a sound, even though I don't necessarily hear it with my ears. It's like such a rich flavor or a quality of energy that gets my attention. So I noticed these plants, but we were going to go plant some plants far away across the yard, around rose bushes. And so we did. We went over and we planted these plants. And the moment we did, the song of those other plants changed. And that just blew my mind, that it's like there is this like this interconnectedness, this energetic cohesiveness that is going on all around us. So this plant far away can begin to harmonize with this plant, and this plant will
Right.
a little bit, you know. So it's not like this plant is like, no, this is just my song and this is the only way I'm ever going to sing it, you know. But that is part of what occurs with us in our bodies too, you know. It's like some people say that, you know, people think they have a green thumb or a black thumb, or, you know, they're good with plants or they kill plants. And what I like to look at is that some people are really willing to receive from plants and sing with them and allow their bodies to sing with them. And some people are not. And there are so many reasons why they may not be. A lot of the time it's that somebody told them that they couldn't, and then they just believed it, you know. But that singing with one another that we can be is such an exciting thing to explore.
Well, in Japan, there's something called forest bathing. I think it's called Shinrin Yoko or something, from very badly pronounced Japanese, but it looks so beautiful when you write it too. But this forest bathing is basically where you go into the forest for a period of time and like immerse yourself in that energy that you're talking about, in that energy field of all the trees. And then when what you're presenting is, it's not only all the trees, the flora, it's really you with all the trees and the flora of the forest. So could you talk a little bit about that and how that could actually, I guess, introduce us to the possibilities of singing this song with the plants and the trees?
Totally. It's like, in a way, you can think about it as like a tuning, you know, that you can, like, if it's like each of us have these amazing bodies. And a lot of the time we have been taught that, like, there's a certain body ideal and that you're supposed to try and have your body be like some other body, even though there's never been a body that's like your body ever. You know, you're the only one. That's the only one of those bodies, you know. And so I like to kind of imagine it as though each of us is an instrument that has never been encountered before. And we get to discover how to play this instrument, you know. And it's like, do you like bang on it? Do you, you know, like, how do you pluck the strings? I mean, what, you know, there's not necessarily a map. There's just the adventure of it, right? Of embodying. And so with that kind of analogy of being this instrument, we get to tune this instrument all the time. And to notice, like, you know, for years I've traveled quite a bit, and what I've noticed that has helped me overcome jet lag is whenever I land somewhere, I ask my body to tune to the earth there. I ask my body to find its harmony with the earth there. So like, body, will you please sing this song that may have different plants, may have different sounds, may have different whatever. And then just asking that, I notice such a change.
So in a way, forest bathing, we're going, it's kind of a way of tuning.
Yeah.
But you once said to me that plants and animals are really our neighbors. They're like, just like we have human neighbors, we also have, you know, plants and animals as our neighbors. So if somebody would like to get more intimate with their plant and neighbors, what would be a good way to start? Like if I just, you know, if I walk out in my garden, what would be a good way to start?
I mean, saying hello. It's so funny because it seems so silly and so simple,
Right.
but I love to just go say hello and to like admire and observe. And just like, so like with this plant, you know, just being with it and just noticing it, you know, it's like that allows me to enjoy whatever it is that I
Mm,
can enjoy. And I have this sense that like enjoyment is a shortcut to receiving. You know, if you think like I'm thinking a lot, but if you just allow yourself to enjoy whatever it is that you enjoy, there is some sort of energy that you are picking up on and you're allowing into your world to contribute to you, to shift something, you know. And so just going out and noticing things and being like, oh wow, you know, like, oh, this little bug, whoa, you know, just that engagement, you know, that is the first step to getting to know your neighbor.
and it's funny when you were saying the hello thing. So I have a garden. And I'm really fond of my garden. And one of the things that I've noticed is that how much more my gratitude for my garden grows, my trust in the garden, like the different seasons, it will come back. It will bloom again. It will not die, even though it looks dead in the winter. That's not true. Like under there, there's like all this life. So all the five elements of intimacy that we talk about in Access Consciousness come back even in my how I be intimate with my garden. So there's so much that the gratitude, the honor, the allowance, like the trust, and even the vulnerability, which really comes from, for me, a sense of I'm not in control here. I really, it's just a co-creation between me and my wild garden. I once planted, Monica, a big field of herbs, and I added mint. I don't know what to say.
Mint.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah,
and they completely took over. They were like, we are the kings of herbs. So
mint.
we should definitely we should definitely take this whole box and fill it with us. And I'm like, okay, I'm guessing this year I will have a lot of mint. So I know you don't really say it that way, but there's such a joy in that intimacy where you're kind of like dancing with your interaction with your garden. So just starting by saying hello and then see where it takes us sounds like a wonderful idea.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I love that with the garden, you know, and the mint. I've definitely worked in gardens that had that, so much so that I am very aware of where I plant mint because it's
Yeah.
like, hi, I'm taking over. But I love that sense of that you get to grow in the
Mm,
garden also. You get to
mm,
grow year after year as you're with this garden in your knowing of the garden. You know, I have
mm,
a little garden here and I've been in this place for a couple of years. And, you know, I tried some plants that totally died. I
yes.
wasn't clear about what the sun and the water and all of the heat was going to be like. And some people would beat themselves up for that, you know. But for me, I just have a sense of like, oh, I'm getting to know you more, you
Mm,
know.
mm,
And so now it's been a few years or a year and a half, and some of the plants that I was like not certain about are thriving. And it's just so exciting to get to see as it takes shape, you know,
yeah.
how we have this friendship. I have this friendship with this
Hmm.
space and with the plants that are growing here, knowing that they may or may not be here in 20 years, you know,
Mm,
who knows? But in this moment, I get to be here with this space, and this space gets to nurture me becoming more, you know, resilient, more in allowance of
mm.
my mistakes or weird choices or whatever it is. And the space, both of us get to thrive together.
So, with animals, there is, like, is a different way that you perceive an elephant than what you perceive a mouse, for example, or an ant or a giraffe. So, is there a difference for you when you have a conversation with a tree and with a dandelion?
That's so interesting because there are actually a lot of different voices, a lot of different energies that speak through each. So when you're talking to a tree, there's the tree, and then there's also a lot of the time like a bunch of different like fungus and little insects, and so like talking to a tree is more like talking to a crowd. you
Yeah.
know and so even just perceiving it, it's like this cacophony of energies, and then talking to a dandelion has a different quality to it. Though you can like talk to a dandelion and just talk to that one dandelion, or you can talk to a dandelion and kind of tap into like all of dandelion consciousness throughout
Right.
all time. And that has a different quality. A lot of my exploration really has just been like turning my attention to plants and trusting that there's something there, that the something is possible. And then I get to explore what it is, even if there's no kind of outline for it. There's no how-to book or anything like that. So I just like go out and I engage with the plant, and I just kind of say hello, and I notice what I notice. And then I go say hello to another plant, and it's different. And
Right.
just engaging with that different plant, even though I might not be able to put it into words, that gives me even more awareness. And then I engage with the same plant on a different day, and it's different. And that gives me more awareness.
Mm,
And so
mm.
it's like, it's this journey of just exploration that has given me so much information that comes in the ways that it comes from me. And I am just yearning for more and more people to be going out there and talking to plants.
Well,
Yeah, go for it.
Well, it brings me to my final question. So, a few years ago, we had a great conversation, and you told me about your secret plan to make the whole world into a park. So, I am wondering, how are you doing? How's your secret plan coming along?
Oh my gosh, it is so exciting because I am seeing more and more, stories all around the world of these different things that different people are doing, like in different countries where they're planting these like green spaces. And I mean, it is a lot of like, this earth is so generative and so abundant. And so as you start to work with it, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. This just created so much more. And so there are many people that are doing that. And for me, there's just this sense of like, it's happening,
Mm,
the 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 consciousness of the earth is being nurtured. And I know that many people have a lot of kind of doom and gloom ideas about, what different people are choosing. But for me, there's that sense of like, if you plant one extra plant outside, you are creating a park. Like that is contributing to the ecosystem of the entire planet. And like these little things that we do actually have a larger impact. And the willingness to engage changes the song, you know, and the more of us that are engaging, the more vibrant that song becomes, the harder it is for people to ignore it, you know? And so I have all sorts of different little things that I'm doing here and there. And what I'm really encouraged by is that it's happening. The park is growing, you know?
I love that. I am so behind your idea about turning the whole world into a park. So if anyone would like to learn more about how to talk to plants, can they find you somewhere?
Yeah, you can go to talktotheplants.com or Talk to the Plants on Instagram, or there's a Talk to the Plants Facebook group. So just keep it real simple. Talk to the plants.
Come and talk to the plants. Thank you so much, Monica, for coming on.
Thank you.
What else is possible? Thank you.